I asked you, do you support child labour or sweatshop labour? Do you think human trafficking is evil? I am quite certain that 99.9% of you in this room today would say, I do not support child labour or sweatshop labour. I think human trafficking is terrible. So let me ask you then, how many of you can say with certainty that the clothes you're wearing right now have not been made in a sweatshop or by child labour? There are currently 14.2 million people in forced labour and 168 million child labourers scattered across the globe.
Shops, child labor, and human trafficking are a sad reality when it comes to the products and goods we in Western society purchase every day, whether it be the clothes you wear or the tea that you drink to start off your morning. This video will be focusing on these issues and possible ways we can contribute to resolving them. Children are the most vulnerable of the world's citizens. The term child labor is often defined as work that deprives children of their childhood, their potential, and their dignity. It is also harmful to their physical and mental development. Because they cannot speak for themselves, they must rely on others to speak for them. Some of the companies that we rely on and trust to provide us with various goods and services use child labor. These companies include H&M, Victoria's Secret, Walmart, Nestle, The Gap, and even Apple. Chances are, if you have bought an electronic, tea, a cheap t-shirt, or even frozen shrimp over the past year, you have probably bought from a company that uses child labor.
The shrimp they harvested from the deep ocean ended up in freezer sections of grocery stores that you have absolutely heard of. In this state, in this country, and in the UK. Some of it also went into pet food, into cat food specifically. Some of the cocoa you may have drank this past winter might have come from leaves picked by West African children. The soccer balls your children kick around on the weekend might have been hand-sewed by someone else's kids in China or India. There's palm oil from Indonesia made by children and adults who live in debt bondage.
The exact number of children worldwide who work is unknown. In 2006, UNICEF estimated that 246 million children, aged 5 to 17, were engaged in child labor, and that 171 million of them were engaged in hazardous industries such as mining, firework manufacturing, stone quarrying, and the sex trade, or were working with chemicals and pesticides in agriculture.
The U.S. Department of Labor keeps a list of products made overseas, manufactured by slaves and children. There's more than 350 products on that list, and some of them are available at supermarkets and shopping centers right down the street from your house. According to the United Nations, between 20 and 35 million people live in slavery today. 5 million of them are children.
In some periphery countries, such as Somalia, 4 out of 10 children are victims of child labor, earning less than $2 per day. So now the question is, how can we help end child labor? First, we must raise awareness for the issue. The more informed people are, the more likely they are to make responsible decisions as consumers. Another way in which we can work towards the eradication of child labor is to give countries the resources they need to enforce laws against child labor. Child labor can also be fought in the world's marketplace through buying fair trade products from companies such as Patagonia or buying locally made and sourced goods.
Much of the labor in periphery countries and near core countries that children as well as adults work in occur in sweatshops. A sweatshop is a factory or workshop, especially in the clothing industry, where manual workers are employed at very low wages for long hours and under poor conditions. Sweatshops allow companies to take advantage of the workers by paying them a low wage. They then turn around and sell their products at a higher cost, enabling them to create a huge profit margin by taking advantage of the workers.
Prices of clothing has also dropped substantially over time. You can now buy a t-shirt for as little as $7 and a pair of jeans for $15. To keep these prices low, companies outsource their clothing production to countries such as Bangladesh, where wages are very low. Currently, over 92% of clothing sold in Australia is made overseas. They don't just absorb this loss of profit resulting from lowering their prices. They try and pass it down the supply chain in an attempt to offset their loss until it reaches those who cannot pass it down anymore. They are your most vulnerable, those who have no voice. They are your garment factory workers in Bangladesh, China, Cambodia, the poor cotton farmers in India, and the child slaves working in cotton farms in Uzbekistan.
On top of low wages, the conditions are deplorable. Workers are forced to work long hours and are not given adequate breaks or food. They are also often met with violence, and the spread of disease is common in these workplaces. In addition to this, there are almost never any benefits offered to the workers.
We must take action against this issue. There are many ways that we as individuals can help. As always, raising awareness of this issue is an important step. The more people that are educated on this issue, the more people are able to think twice about what they are buying. As consumers, we must become critical when buying products and ensure that they come from a place that do not partake in sweatshops and child labor. One of the most important ways that we as consumers can help address the issue of child labor and sweatshops is to make sure that we are getting as many clothes and other products as possible that are made locally. One of the ways you can do this is to look in your closet and see where your clothes are made. So that's what I'm going to do. So I have this t-shirt here from American Eagle, and when I look at the tag, I can see that it is made in Indonesia. So as you can see, like, that's not a local product, and it's probably made in like a sweatshop or child labor, or that's not always necessarily the case, but it's not made locally.
Okay, so for a few examples, I have this Aviva t-shirt. It was approximately $60, and it was designed in Vancouver but made in Sri Lanka.
And then I have these pants from Aritzia that are made in China. So again, that's not a product that's made locally.
Next I have these Lazy Pants sweatpants, and they were designed and made in Canada. And then I have this Patagonia sweater, which was made in Nicaragua.
And this one actually surprised me a lot. So this is a sweater from Roots, which a lot of people would think is actually made in Canada. But when you actually look at the tag, it's made in China. So again, not local. And then I have these pants from Lululemon, and they say designed in Vancouver and made in Vietnam. So as you can see, it's not just like one brand or one industry that is using like child labor or sweatshops and making their products not locally. It's so many companies, and so it's really important to take the time to go and find those companies that have used local products. And that's one way that we can help combat child labor as well as sweatshops.
A change must come at the global level too. We must put pressure on governments to create tighter rules around wages and conditions in places of work. Even more importantly, we must also enforce the rules that are already in place. By raising awareness and putting pressure on lawmakers, we pave the way to better and safer working conditions for everyone.